What's going on, everybody? Another episode of Point of View with your guy, Jontel, joined by a co host today, Chaz Neal out of Minnesota. You already know.
Yo, yo, yo.
What's going on,
How's
brother? How you
everybody
doing?
doing? I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
I can't complain. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird time of the year where it seems really quiet. There doesn't seem to be a lot of news, but actually, there is a lot of shit
There is a
going on.
lot of news.
There is, and they just don't want to talk about it.
I,
So we're gonna get into some stuff today. What you gonna say?
no, I think it's deeper than that to me. I think it's that people know what's going on in the world. I think people choose to sometimes ignore and look the other way.
Right. Well, you know what? People got so much shit going on. That's the issue. And speaking of, we got a guest on today, Jess Mysteria out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Welcome to the show, and thank you for joining us, Jess. It's a pleasure.
What up, though? Thank you for having me on. I definitely appreciate it.
Yo, you already know. It's all love.
Feels good to be here today.
So go ahead.
These news topics we're speaking on, do you have anything specific you wanted to?
Yeah, so this first one, we do a lot of work out of Akron, Ohio, and we have correspondents out there that cover news as well. And this story is straight out of Akron. It has to do with, oh man, so we had Jayland Walker last year. Justice for Jayland Walker, y'all. Who was graded up like Swiss cheese. We went out there and covered the story. That's how me and Chaz connected. And ever since, we've been covering many different stories of atrocities, like, for example, protesters putting signs up on their own lawns, and lawns that people say, yeah, you could put a sign up on my lawn, and cops going around systematically and taking these signs down. We finally got the names of the officers released, but they still won't publicly talk about it yet. So there's a number of things that go on in Akron that need to be heard, so we follow closely with stories. This particular story is, I believe, from 2021, but now it's just coming out that a black man was being supposedly detained by Akron City Police, and this specific officer decided to he pushed this guy. He had him in the snow, first of all, and he decided to pack snow into his mouth and nose. And so we're gonna check out this piece real quick, and then we're gonna give commentary on this. Check this out, y'all.
7 current and former members of its police force in response to the 2021 arrest of Charles Hicks II. Police body camera video shows former officer John Turner packing snow into the face of Hicks 3 times during the arrest.
It was a citizen who was treated less than human. He was treated like an animal. His rights were violated.
The city of Akron and its police department maintain the internal investigation into this incident was handled properly. But News 5 investigator Joe Paganakis reports the 10-count lawsuit claims Hicks had his constitutional rights violated during that arrest.
I'll get on my knees. Listen to me.
Akron police body cam video of the February 7th, 2021 arrest of 28-year-old Charles Hicks II. Police responding to a call of suspected domestic violence. Hicks seen with his hands up over his head, but seconds later, Hicks heard gasping for air as police body cam video shows Akron officer John Turner packing 3 handfuls of snow into Hicks' nose and mouth while Hicks was down on the ground.
The excessive use of force in violation of my client's constitutional rights.
In response, Hicks attorney Eddie Siplin filed this civil lawsuit in federal court on January 2nd against the city of Akron and 7 current and former members of the Akron Police Department. Siplin says the lawsuit was filed after he says the city of Akron incorrectly allowed Turner to resign during the internal investigation into his use of force and failed to continue to pursue criminal charges against Turner.
If it were you or I, we quit our jobs. That's not going to stop the criminal investigation.
We disrespected a citizen, and for that, I apologize.
The case had Akron Mayor Dan Horrigan apologizing for Turner's actions, but Turner told the city of Akron he resigned for personal reasons. And even though Acting Police Chief Mike Capers admitted the use of snow is not trained by the Akron Police Department, Capers maintained it was Hicks who escalated the physical nature of his arrest.
Failed to comply verbally
and physically with the officer's attempts to take him into custody.
Capers also defended the results of his department's internal investigation.
The bottom line, the APD internal investigation process does work.
The city of Akron issued a short statement in response to the federal lawsuit saying the city typically does not comment on pending litigation, so we won't be providing comment or doing interviews at this time. Siplin says the 10-count lawsuit is also hoping to generate additional de-escalation training for the department and the officers involved in Hicks' arrest.
Now, some policy changes, and it may happen along with the passage of issue 10 with the Civilian Oversight Board.
And Attorney Siplin says the city of Akron now has 60 days to respond to the lawsuit in federal court. Siplin says if individual members of the Akron Police Department don't accept being served with the lawsuit, they would have only 21 days to respond. You know, News 5 will continue to follow up on this developing story.
Now, hold on. I want to talk about issue 10 real quick because, Chaz, if you could provide a little backstory on it, because I'm a little foggy with that, but that came on the backs of Jalen Walker, right?
Yeah, that. So just like basically with every big highlighted case, there's always some kind of legislation, some type of, I guess, what they want to call accountability and transparency and change, reform, whatever they want to call it. That my only thing of it is, and I'm pulling it up right now, is if it's not, to me, you can do whatever you want to do with police, but if it's not, for me, if it's not community based, and I mean by that is you could put any kind of civilian boards, but if it's not controlled by the people, we're never going to get changed by the police because you have way too many people that are already connected to politicians, elected officials that get put into these boards and they don't do anything anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our thing with it.
We see here in Lancaster, we're struggling when it comes to even having the right community members on these boards.
Mm-hmm.
We get a lot of yes people put in place and a lot of people that are not going to be defiant to the norm. So there's no change in that structure. Now, you're absolutely right when it comes to having community-based organizations behind these, but it's like if the policies and the direct policies don't get changed and the baseline of the investigators, the people who are actually IAB behind these situations don't get changed, nothing's going to get changed. You see, the first thing they said is, we believe that they did everything they were supposed to do. And then now later on, now they're sorry.
Right. Mind you, this is later.
That's the whole thing for me too, because even with, being in Minneapolis and especially with George Floyd, when Jacob Frey and our police first came out with Joe, they told us it was a medical incident. Right. Derek Chauvin had his knee on his neck for 9 minutes and 39 seconds. So I think for me, if you're not going to have, and everybody talks about transparency, but see, if we're not going to have full transparency, because you can't have half-ass transparency.
Talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? So if it's not going to be 100% transparency, then I don't want it.
And they'll never give 100% transparency. There'll always be a reason why that's not information they should provide. There's always a safety regard. There will always be a back end story as to why they won't just tell the truth.
Right.
The sad thing is, like, in this video, there's so many other cops around. Everybody else felt like this was okay. Just to the fact that this man has no shirt on and you've got him in the snow, period. You don't know what his medical history is like. You don't know what his conditions like. He could have suffered all types of different situations in that scenario. And they do these demeaning acts every day, come up with these excuses, and then just, like they said, this cop quit his job, so he should have been, just let go of. there'll always be that back end story when you finally make it to, like in this case though, I feel like they got a strong lawsuit, not just off of what transpired, but off of the statements that their police department's already making. They won.
I want to tell you something here that one of our correspondents shared with me, and it's exactly the scenario. You're talking about like a case of the way that police treat us and think that they're just above us and can question us even when we're in the right, and they know that they're in the wrong. They continue anyway. Check this out, y'all.
Behind your back now, because somebody saw you looking at cars, so I'm here just checking to see what's going on. You got ID on you?
Yeah, I do, but
okay, yeah, I'm figuring that out right now. I'll take a look at your ID though.
You don't need my ID unless I did something. Okay. Unless you're taking me in for something like that.
Turn around, put your hands behind your back right now.
For
now.
What? For what?
Turn around and put your hands behind your back now.
For what?
108, pick it up. You're gonna obey me, or you're gonna go on the ground.
Obey you?
Because I'm giving you a lawful order.
For what?
Turn around and put your hands behind your back.
Did I do anything?
Yes. Turn around and put your hands behind your back.
What did I do?
Do you want to get tased?
Excuse me?
Turn around and put your hands.
What? You know how to work here?
Turn around and put your hands.
Did you mute that, or did the audio?
What are you arresting me for?
I'm not arresting you right now. You're not.
What was that?
Did you mute that, or did the audio mute?
I think the audio might be live. What happened?
Oh, that was the audio on the live or the audio on the video? Because that's what I was trying to see, if they muted it or if you muted it at that point when he started describing that he works there.
It might have cut out on you. So like, one thing though, real quick, that really stuck out to me, and he caught it too, was the fact that he said you're gonna obey me.
Obey me.
Obey you.
Oh, but you understand that? Have you been hearing the context of the conversation along the board of all of these situations, not just police situations, but even the not Kobe. Oh my God. Even the Kyrie situation.
Talk about it.
Nike came on and the CEO of Nike was like, he crossed the line. What line? And who are you to obey, sir?
Talk about it.
And that's the thing right now. I feel like after 2020, it's all about showing us our place.
Right.
It's all about re-educating us on where we belong in this world and where we don't belong in this world. And that's what the financial. Okay, so I don't agree with the Kanye West. I don't like Kanye West. I'm gonna tell you that now. I like the old Kanye West. I don't like.
Talk about it.
I don't agree with Kanye West's viewpoints on a lot of things. I believe that, he has some mental instabilities that are hindering his thought process right now.
However,
I do not believe with what they're doing to Kanye West. And the statement that they're making through what they're doing to Kanye West. Kanye West earned his money. Kanye West earned his whatever, his records, his finances, the things that he has purchased at this point, he earned those. So who are you to say we don't like what he says out his mouth, so we're gonna take them from him?
Right.
Like without due process, without any due process.
We did 5, 6 different episodes on this whole topic and Kyrie. And the one thing that we focused on historically, was buck breaking. And that's exactly what we witnessed, was a 2022 version of buck breaking, and Kyrie and Ye were the examples of that. And it's sad that we had so many Black people co-signing that bullshit.
Yeah. It's sad on both spectrums, because we have people who think he is a mortal genius, and it's like, dog.
Right.
It's like, dog, please just shut up. Please. Just stop talking and understand that in some elements he's genius. He's a marketing genius. Yes, he is. But he's also trying to take the Black community back 100 years. And that whole White Lives Matter situation, I thank God for those two guys in where were they, Arizona, that trademarked that statement. It was like, this is where we put our foot down. No.
Right. No, I get that. But the thing is, like, he some people say he's a genius. My thing is just the fact that he's showcasing someone that can speak their mind and is not a crazy old white man. He's a crazy black man. And this may sound loopy, but it shows diversity in our community. It shows that we're human. And anyone that's highly critical of a black person showing humanity, where's your viewpoint on black people in general then? Think about
right. And now don't get it wrong. I think he took it way too far when he was talking about going Call of Duty and all the extra stuff. But it's like, at the same time, what does that have to do with the money he's already made?
Right.
That's
another thing, though, is like we also witnessed, and if you think about the context of his career, and like you pointed out before, we miss if you are about conscious rap or about just being aware of what's going on in the world, the old Kanye was the shit. Because he spoke that gospel. You know what I'm saying?
Through the wire.
Yes. But when his mom passed, I feel like it changed him. And when he started really digging in and giving us the truth, the industry and people at large shunned him or made him feel like he was speaking too much truth. So what happened? The industry, after his mom's death, stuff got to him and they took advantage of him. And I feel like his mind deteriorated and he took advantage of him more. And when black people turned their backs on him, he went to white people, and then white people turned their backs on him and he just got even crazier. That's my take.
And that's a fair assessment. But I feel like he drank the Kool-Aid, and then once he realized that he was just a puppet at this point, it was too much for his ego. Like, he don't get it wrong. Like, I feel bad for his mom's situation. Like, that's a hard pill to swallow. You paid for your mom's surgeries and they killed her.
Right.
Vanity killed her.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day. And that's the sad thing. Like, we as women right now, we're in a world where we can't just be women. That's not good enough. We have to add on 160 pounds of butt. We need boobs that come out to our chin, or we are not the ideal woman. Ribs that don't exist. And it's killing our community, bro. Literally.
A little off topic, but what I'm going to point out is Cardi B was just talking about this not too long ago. And what she went through with plastic surgery, she doesn't want any other women to go through. And she really was. It's kind of interesting because, you know, she's the epitome of like plastic black chick, but she literally spoke to, you know, the ideal of loving your body and the skin that you're in. And if you do want to change some things, naturally changing them, you know what I mean? Not getting all the kind of toxic stuff that can actually harm your body. And she broke it down. And you know what? A lot more people need to hear this, because when you really do get back to just being basic, it isn't just about, like, even if you're not like
basic is not basic.
But think about it. It's if you don't want to look at it from a spiritual aspect, think about it from a financial aspect. When we had the civil rights movement, we took ourselves back so many decades because we started divesting from our own communities. There's kids pre-segregation, they had to go to the mom and pop shop that was a little run down, but we supported our brothers and sisters that was black, right? When segregation was taken down, we ended up going to the big corporation chain. So we started putting our money into corporate America and not into our own communities anymore.
And that is the issue. Understand that, look, good babes. I'm all for separate but equal.
Right.
I believe that was our community's great mistake.
Yep.
The civil rights movement.
Yep.
Like, forcing, like, don't get it wrong. Yes, we should be able to live amongst each other and everybody just be great. But that is not the reality of any nation, anywhere you go. There's always a separate divide, regardless, whether it's wealth and class. But at the same time, if we would have, like you said, took our monies, invested in ourselves, taught our own children, built our own colleges, kept Black Wall Street going and strong, if we would have pursued our own avenues and really gave us our own histories and our own educations, we wouldn't be the lost people that we are now.
But see, to me, I'm gonna go a step further, because to me, I feel like it's designed this way, and I'm gonna say why. Because if you look at the Willie Lynch letter, I know people say that that's a conspiracy theory, it's a farce.
Even if it isn't, it's still true.
Right. And I'm gonna say it like this, because especially in that letter, he says, Willie Lynch states that if used correctly, this is something that'll be passed on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, possibly even thousands, right? But that cycle can be broke. But the thing of it is, we keep on falling in to that cycle of not being, because they want to put us as BIPOC. They want to put us as person of color, instead of just looking at us for who we really are. Because I just had a conversation with, and if people don't know, especially you, Jess, I'm a conservative. I consider myself a conservative. Black conservative, urban conservative, who's all about family values. That's because that's where I grew up. Especially if you looked in the Black community. I'm 45, so I'm talking about like the middle 80s to the beginning of the 90s, where we had Big Mama. You know, we had the neighborhood auntie, the neighborhood grandma. Everybody looked out for each other.
Understandably, I came in on the back end. I'm a late 80s baby. I was born in 88. So I'm the generation of the crack babies.
There ain't nothing wrong with that, though.
No, there's not. Because understand, our generation got something this generation doesn't have. We have resilience that this generation doesn't have. And we lived in a world right before the electronics boom. So that's when electronics shut down. What is this generation going to do when they can't pay with their phone? How are they going to live? Our kids aren't learning how to grow things. We can still grow things.
This was put into place. This was a system that was put into place to literally breed the revolutionary out of us. In the crack era, you know what I'm saying? The war on drugs. If you were a Black male or combatant or what they deemed a revolutionary, they shot you dead blatantly, or they put you in jail, or they deemed you a crack dealer, and you were kept from your family. So that kid grew up without that family value, that family structure. Here we are, damn near 2 generations later.
We're even deeper than that. We're even deeper than that. If you were a young family, unwed, and you needed assistance, you were put on your husband, your boyfriend was put on child support. He couldn't live in the home, not if you got Section 8. So they literally divided Black families. If you wanted help, you had to be divided.
A single mother, right? And
you could not be a family, a couple, and look for assistance. No, you just have to figure it out together. But if you're single, we'll help you. If he's in jail, we'll help you. Not if he's struggling to find a job.
Whatever little bit of money is left over for that single mother is going to other communities. It's going to hair and nails and Pakistanis and Asians and white people, white corporations, McDonald's, everywhere else but ourselves.
Because in longevity, the issue is too that we see dollar signs before we see the big picture. So then we have brands that sell out to white conglomerates, and we lose the power of the product. There's so many hair product brands that I can't use anymore because they sell out to a white conglomerate. They add preservatives, and I think I'm buying Black-owned brands, but I'm not.
You're not.
And it's that whole cycle. And it's like, how do we learn not to be crabs in a bucket and pull ourselves all up at once?
Yep.
How do you feel about the oh my God, correct the name if I'm wrong, but the beach situation in California that's owned by the family that got robbed?
I think I'll say it like this. To me, that whole situation, if they were just gonna if they were just gonna end up buying the land back anyways, why not just compensate them financially? Because that's the way it made it seem that anyways, that it was, because to me, I don't think it was more about, to me, than finances. But on the outside looking in, that's what the mainstream media made it look like.
Because at this point, they're like, I guess the offer is $20 million to buy the land outright, or it's like $174,000 a year. And it's like, do you believe they should sell, or do you believe they should keep it in the family? Like, I feel like that should be something they hold on to.
But they can't afford it.
They can't afford the upkeep?
Yeah,
I'm gonna give y'all personal testimony really quick, and I'm about to cry. Because y'all personally both know I'm going through my own personal housing crisis, and I'm 34 years old. I'm a self-proclaimed millennial, and millennials, we already have our own personal issues with housing crises, right? We went through the housing crisis of 2008 to 2010, where we weren't able, as we were able to at the age to buy homes, most of us couldn't. And here we are, most of us with kids in our mid 30s to 40s. And me personally, I had the privilege of growing up with my grandparents owning a home, right? In the 80s in Coatesville. I mean, Coatesville was a steel mill town, and historically black men, I should say, were always able to work in a steel mill and make a really good living and able to buy a home in or around Coatesville. So I was one of those lucky black kids that I grew up in some sense of shelter and privilege, living in a neighborhood with all black people for the most part, that everyone owned their home and everyone knew, like you talked about, Chaz, like I grew up in that era too. And now it's 2023 and most of those families have moved away or they've sold their homes, and now it's like a more diverse neighborhood. Still very like, you can leave your back door open if you really wanted to, but not necessarily. You shouldn't, but you know what I'm saying? But my pop passed in 2021. And I mean, he didn't, this is one thing black people need to do is, you know, life insurance, investing, saving your money, building something to leave for your successive generations to have. He didn't. And he also, like, his income, his retirement income and everything that he got, he was in the army, all of that took care of most of the bills, and them together, even still with the cost of inflation and the cost of living increasing, they had a hard time still making do, right? And they just got older and older, and my grandmom's income, like hers, didn't barely even touches it, you know. So my point is, like, over the years everyone moves away, you know. Younger generations aren't so keen on staying in the family and everyone helping each other out. Everyone moves away and does their own thing. Unfortunately, that's the thing these days. So no one's there to, and this is a big property and it's beautiful, y'all. It's fucking beautiful. And it's so much that can be done with it, and nobody's there to upkeep it. So, and my pop's gone. So my gram's like, no one's coming here to help me. This property, it's just falling apart. I've been here 40 years. He's no longer here. Why should I keep it? Nobody in the family has the money to take to buy it from me. So what am I supposed to do? I need to live the rest of my life out comfortably. She was working 2 jobs, and now it's like, seriously?
And that's the sad thing about the way families are separating. Nobody's coming back for their elders, and it's like, how do you just not take care of somebody who took care of you? Now, don't get it wrong, I come from a very different family,
because this is our homestead. This is the place that everybody comes to when we meet up. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I come from a different.
No, but listen, for real, y'all niggas want to come and have a cookout or come to do holidays,
to party,
and shit,
but nobody wants to come change the light bulbs.
That part, or nobody wants to save this fucking property when y'all knew this is the 2 years this is 2 years in
because we don't understand it. We don't understand the whole value of property. First of all,
yes, that's what I'm getting at. becoming so real to me now. And I've known this happen in the past 2 years, but I've been watching it happen like there's nothing I can do. And nobody else that's in a better position is caring enough to even step in and do something and like take it on and be legitimate about it.
I will tell you this. So Izzy is State House Representative Ishmael is in PA up here. He's our first queer Black State House Representative in Lancaster. But he's fighting he was talking about a policy to try to get into play where around here, if there is a house in that type of situation where it's family owned, whatever the case may be, and property taxes is up, somebody passes away, they're trying to instill in policy that you get 30 days to come back and fight for that. You get a certain amount of time before anybody could buy the house up under you.
Right.
And that's the thing that where you're absolutely correct. We don't have the financial education in which we need to be the adults we need to be right now. We ignore the fact that these fundamentals are implemented in life because we're so busy struggling to figure it out as parents. I'm speaking. Our parents didn't teach us this stuff because they were too busy working in the steel mills and they were too busy busting their asses to pay the bills to teach us the things we needed to know because they weren't taught the things they needed to know and they're just learning them. And that's where it's like we have to get 100 steps ahead of the game to educate these children that are running around here. Like, all in all, when it comes to you know my life, Jontel, but all in all, when it comes to the struggles that I'm facing right now, my main concern is how to teach my children not to have these struggles in the future and how to show them that you can get through these struggles. Like, I'm going through a housing situation and I just literally sat on policy committee hearings fighting to not end up in this housing situation, to try to make the policy changes we need. And what does our community do? Not wake up, not go vote for the people we need into place to get the policies into place that would save us all right now.
Talk about it.
And that's where the real issue is. We're so scared of actually utilizing our rights and actually taking action in the places that we can take action and we choose not to. So then later on in life, it's too late.
See, it's bred into us and we're on autopilot like robots because we're all now stuck in survival mode.
It's designed that way.
It's designed that way. And just like y'all spoke on before, since 2020, how we've been under attack way more than else, and it's in the policing. Someone just sent me the other yesterday. I was looking at comparing the differences between Philadelphia, Lancaster, and Minneapolis, and the police information and the budgets and all of that. And it's a known fact. It's widely known, at least it should be to people, that since 2020, policing budgets have increased. Fight backs and the number of people killed by police have increased, and it's only going to increase more as they crack down on criminalizing people or pushing them into poverty, death, or jail, or any of that.
And as they get successfully penalize people for speaking up, because that is the grand show right now. The grand show is incarcerating the people who had voices. The grand show is showing people that you cannot speak out. You cannot defy the norms. You cannot try to change the policies in your community. You need to be the distracted worker or else.
Right. And that's what going back to the distracted worker. And back to like so my family homestead, everyone has been so busy working, even if they wanted to jump in and help, everyone's busy, distracted in their own lives. Like even myself, that this just kind of, it's been going on, but it still kind of popped up on me. And no one is in the position to take
not beat yourself up so bad in this instance because eggs are $7 a carton.
Right.
So it's like when we're living in a world where we're scrambling to buy eggs and milk that we can barely afford, property taxes is just out of reach.
But sis, I can't help it when there's not many black families that can say, I will speak from an area of privilege and say I was blessed to be able to I'm 34 years of my life always have a sense of centrality and grounding. There's always somewhere that I can go and that's consistent and touch down on. And it feels like the rug has been ripped from underneath me, and now I know how other people might have felt so many other times in their life. I'm blessed to have this, and now I'm realizing the significance of it, and it's bewildering, but at the same time it also is a blessing, and I am trying to make peace with it, but I can't help but be fucking pissed off at the fact that somebody, the minute that this shit goes out, someone's gonna pay cash with that shit, gobble it up, and turn it into some fucking apartment complex, and
or some Airbnb.
Yo, it's like 2 properties. It's so big. They're gonna do a lot.
But Jontel, understand.
Like,
one thing you gotta take though is that they can't take that from you. That blessing that your grandparents instilled in you, that homestead feeling, that remembrance of your grandmom cooking in the kitchen and your grandpa sitting there watching sports, they can't take that from you. Even if they take the property, they cannot take that blessing from you. And that's what you got to hold on to at the end of the day, and then try to keep going in your family. The house is just a house. It's not a home without the people.
Facts.
So I'm looking at something, and this goes back to, this study was done in 2018. So they said there hasn't been much movement in the disparity between wages and wealth between black and whites. The average income of black households is around 65% that of white households, with this disparity barely changing over the last 50 years. So if you even look at since the civil rights movement, in wealth, we haven't gained anything, because first of all, we don't support each other. You know, we'll ask, this is, a comedian said this the other day too, that we're so comfortable asking our friends for discounts, but you don't go to Nike, you don't go to Michael Kors, you don't go to Coach, you don't go to AP, you don't go to wherever you go shopping at, Macy's, wherever it may be, and go ask them for a discount. But it's crazy how we say we support one another, but we always want to ask for a handout or something for free, but we won't go, we don't go do that at the mall.
Right.
We have to think on a higher scale, because not even on a higher scale, a more educated scale, because of the simple fact of the only way that we're going to gain wealth as a race, as people, is to work together and to form together. But we can't do that because we have too many things that are in place to divide us.
But we also, can I chime in real quick? Because we also have to stop limiting ourselves to our community. That is a big thing that I had to realize. I started a small business in 2019, and Mysterious Necessities was something that like I worked on for years, but I had to in this last year, I had to remember to stop focusing on my immediate community, because the world is big.
Yes.
The world is big, and there is so much support out there for what we are doing individually if you look outside of your box.
Yeah, that's part of what is the same way that everyone looks at us with apprehension. They think like, okay, if it's a black movie out, white people think that it's only for black people. No, it's for you too. It just happens to be all black people in it.
You're just going to take something differently from it than I am, because you live a different life than I do.
Right.
Right.
But the lesson is there for everybody.
You know what, though? That's always made me wonder, though, right? Because I think about Jim Crow laws. I think about the black codes, but are they really gone?
No.
Because the only thing of it is, you know, and it's crazy because the University of Minnesota looked at racial covenants in our like zoning. Like black people couldn't live in certain places. And the crazy thing of it is, a lot of those are still there. You just got to look at the color codes, because we were either called darkies or there was so many different phrases that they had for us that people today don't even understand, that the same things that we're looking at when we're going to maybe get a business loan or a loan we don't read all the paperwork. That's why I always tell people read the fine print, because that's what they don't want you to read. Don't read the stuff that you can read. Read the stuff that they don't want you to read.
Right.
Question it.
Because that's how we fall for these tricks. Because I sit here and I think about it with George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and then I think about the cases that have been similar to them since. And where have we gone? Because all I see is these liberals
backwards.
Thank you. We're not going forward. We're
going backwards. And you know why we're going backwards? Because we're too busy looking for perfection in our messengers.
Right. Now talk about it. Damn, I love that. That is wow.
That is the lesson that I got out of this whole trial situation I just sat through. Like, I like it on a more personal note, like being one of those people that really not woke up because I had a pending federal litigation against our city police department before the 2020 protests. Now, I started that in 2018. I've been woke up to our situations. I've been trying to fight back. But the first time I've ever experienced my community actually speak up against the real oppressive issues in our city was the summer of 2020.
Right.
And to see that was like a whole different reality. It was a whole different view structure that I've ever seen our city. So understand that I felt like there really was the possibility for change here. And they've managed to divide, separate, and isolate to the point that the one lesson that you are, in order to be the messenger, you have to be a perfect person. And there are no perfect people. So the message will never be delivered because the only thing that they could do to me was pick apart my past. And this is why what I'm saying now is invalid.
But see, it's also about still capitalism. Like politics is still a facade. So people are still put up as packages and packaged out to us and sold. They're not actually humans once they get put in that kind of category. And no matter what, we still think of it in that mindset. We have to get out of that mindset and start holding people accountable when they do fuck up, but also make sure we're looking at the policies that they stand for above everything else. I don't care necessarily what you've done in your personal life. I care about the policies that you are supporting and what you want for this country. And we got a little bit of time left, but I want to end on this note because it's literally pushing us into the thing that I wanted to end on anyway. Talking about liberals specifically, but the parties in general, but liberals, because y'all spoke on 2020 and how nothing has changed. In fact, things have regressed since then. Yes, every obstacle is an opportunity. Where are we at now? What's the obstacle right now? The obstacle is the fact that people in 2020 were so hard pressed to be all BLM or whatever the hell Black Lives Matter was. Because Trump was in power and Trump stood for racism and this, that, and the third. Okay, I can give a fuck about Trump at this point. He's in my rear view. I'm thinking about right now, right? Right now, we've got Biden, and Biden has been implementing worse things than Trump or upholding things that Trump kept in place, like Title 42, like the documents found at his home. What is that about?
Can I chime in real quick? Yeah. Let me say this though. We got Biden and Biden shit, just like every other president before him. But at the same time, he's not utilizing this hate factor to get him where he needs to go. Right. And that's the one thing that it's like, okay, every president before Biden did what for us? And when has it ever been a world where we could really reside in a country that was really great for us? Never. So to assume that Biden was getting there and just going to make it great, no, that wasn't going to happen. But at the same time, he wasn't going to utilize the race hate to get his place. And that's where it's like, it just is what it is. But
the hate was already there.
But can I say something on the first statement when you were like in 2020 everybody was so quick to be like Black Lives Matter or whatever that was. Why are we taking away from that statement because of whatever one individual or one entity or one organization that screamed it the loudest did. Like, it really bothers me that we shit on that statement. Like, that statement isn't true in form.
See, I go with the different. See, BLM matters to me.
I say Black Lives Matter movement.
See, I don't. I see, to me, and this is where I'm going to go a step further, because I know my Black Lives Matters, right?
Period.
We all should know that our Black Lives Matters. Where I think the whole message for me got messed up is where they started lying to the people.
Don't get it wrong. They were doing whatever shady shit in the background that people do, because people are human, and humans will never be perfect, and people will always be imperfect in that way. But at the same time, that statement in itself should have never ever just even been allowed to be valued because of what any individual does. That doesn't take away from the fact that all our Black Lives matter.
Put it this way, it's the equivalent of the way that the Black Panther movement was slandered, and Black people co-signed it and went right along with it too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that's where we like really need to cut it out, because after Hitler, they didn't stop screaming white power.
Right. They damn sure didn't.
And that's where it bothers me. Like, I get into so many debates about this, because it's like they be like, well, she did this and she did that, and I said, does that change that your Black life matters?
Right.
Like, I'm never gonna ever back down or regret making that statement. Why? Because I have 4 Black children and they fucking matter.
Right.
Facts. I think for me, it's kind of like one of those things where, like, if somebody talks about my sister, I'm going off, but I'm gonna talk shit to her. You know what I mean?
I get it.
I talk shit on Black Lives Matter. I have stuff to say. However, like, I'm gonna still hold it accountable, because we gotta check ourselves within our own community. You know what I mean? It is something we do need to talk about. However, it should not taint the attempt at the progress that we tried to make and how we stood up for ourselves in that summer and since. That's
where it's like we should own pride in that. Like, the summer of 2020, the whole world woke up. Not just Black America, but 50 states and 18 countries.
Facts. That's facts.
I gotta say that maybe, I don't know about if America woke up, because I honestly feel like
I agree with
we
you.
haven't moved an inch since 2020, since May 25th, 2020.
But on the contrary, the rest of the world seems to be rising up.
Right, while we're still here sitting scared.
Eating popcorn and
because it's not that, it's that we got stopped. We got stopped. It's not that we didn't not just move, we got stopped. People are scared. People are scared.
But I think
People
that's
are
why for
losing.
me,
And don't get it wrong. You're talking to somebody that, like, you got to put me through the fire, baby. You got to push me the whole way through the incinerator before I stop going.
Right.
But at the same time, do I get people's apprehensions? Yes. I literally put my whole life up for this and lost. Lost. I'm a single mom of 4 kids who is looking at a jail sentence right now because I utilized my voice in the summer of 2020.
Right.
And it's like, I get the idea of making sure you protect your space. And I get the idea of wanting to just stay in your corner and making sure yours are okay. But I also understand that if we just do that, nothing will ever change and yours won't be okay.
Right. That's big facts.
So it's like, it's hard for me. Right now, I'm pending sentencing. And they could do anything from 0 to 19 years. And I have 4 kids. Like, it's very, very hard for me, especially when you tell me that all I did was my presence encouraged the actions of 300 to 500 other people. What does that mean?
Right.
But they won't do the same thing to Donald Trump.
No, never.
It's sick to me because I sit here and I know I don't know much about you, Jess, and I know we don't have much time, but I have trial next week. My trial starts here in Minneapolis.
Damn.
Police officer assaulted Dante Wright's mother, and we had a press conference, and they literally sent about 60 officers for a press conference.
Yeah.
And they started locking up the fence, and we weren't going to allow them. Well, an officer tried to put his hands on Dante Wright's brother, Damick, and I wasn't allowing all of that. And so I faked like I was spitting, and you could just hear the sounds. They have no video. And their first plea bargain to me, because I'm a felon. I have, in Minnesota we go by a sentencing guidelines. So
we have that here too, and I'm
off the scale. So their first plea bargain for spit, even if it did hit the officer, right? Which I know I didn't spit. Maybe something came out, but for the fact that they offered me a plea bargain of 40-something months.
Yep.
And I had to sit here and look at a police officer only get 24 months.
Yep.
So my so-called spit is worth more time than bullets.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, as my first offense as an adult, I spit on 2 police officers. I was 18. This was 2008. I went to jail with 8 felonies, 5 misdemeanors, and a $250,000 bail. I am now 34 years old, and I am going to go back to jail because of this situation, because of my prior record. And it will be something that forever haunts me. Do not spit on a police officer, because golly, you will pay for it your entire life, and they will take they will take their shit back in blood.
To me, that's and Queen, I definitely hear you. And I think that there's people like me, you, Jontel, and there's so many others that have endured jail, because I know a lot of people that are sitting in jails right now that shouldn't be. And even before this, I jumped into this so-called movement, that there's been plenty. And just to see that the people that are out here speaking up the most are the ones that are getting it the hardest. But you see these organization leaders that have, because you don't bite the hand that feeds you, right? So when it comes to certain situations, because I've seen certain activists do no different than people that I love and care for have done the same thing, but yet we're sitting behind jail cells while these so-called community leaders were just either let go, not given a ticket, or even sued the city for money. But yet we're sitting here, most of us, the real activists. I don't even call myself an activist. I don't even like being called that.
No.
Community organizer, community member.
Don't get it wrong. At this point, like now that I've done like a certain level of things, I do consider myself like, and others, social injustice activists. Now, I don't really like the word activist, and I get into this whole thing, but we're not going to do that. But at the same time, like we're people that just want to see the change in the world because we suffered through the worst of the world. And that's why we will never be the perfect messenger, because the perfect person would never go through what we go through to even want to change these things. And it's like, yes, my community responded to me. Why? Because they watched me struggle my entire life to fight through this system and actually have something, and then watched me risk it to wake them up. And it's like, at this point, don't get it wrong. Like, I wish that they gave me some type of idea of what they were going to do with me, but they didn't. Like, so literally they haven't told me anything. It's just open wind, 0 to 19 years. Anything could happen when I walk into sentencing and I find out on that day, and I have to prepare 4 children for that and pack up a whole house and make sure I don't lose everything I've worked for in order to accomplish this and be able to walk in here with my head held high, because there's going to be a reporter who stands back just waiting to see my reaction. And it's like, how do you do this? you mentally prepare yourself, because at the end of the day, I know what I went out there for. I know what I wanted to see changed. I know that I did not riot in my city. I didn't do the things that they're trying to penalize me for. But at the same time, I taught my children everything they need to know when it comes to being a good person and trying to stand for yourself and not being afraid when it comes to play in the end. Like, they're going to do whatever it is they want to do. And I do know that there is life behind bars. I do know that there is an entire society, and you don't just die and the fight doesn't just end. I do understand that. So it's like, in my mind, the real fear is just what my children will experience without me being here to guide them, without me being here to speak for them, without me being here to advocate for them. And that's what's bothering my soul. Like, they can do whatever they want to me. Like, that's one thing for certain. I've had a baby in jail. At this point, you can literally do whatever you want to me, as long as those four are fine in the end.
Right. Oh, I feel you on that.
How can viewers and people support you, or is the sentencing open to public? Is there any way that we can help support you in any way?
The sentencing is open to the public. Please feel free. Come, respect the space. It is a courtroom at the end of the day.
Right.
Like, one thing about me, anybody knows, anybody see me, I'm about my business. I come to court. If you're gonna do it be dirty, then take a good picture. It just is what it is. But like, we're just trying to get through the process. Jessica Mysteria on all social media platforms, IG, Just88 on TikTok. But follow the stories, Jessica Lopez. You can Google it. I'm not your perfect person. I am the epitome of a struggling woman of color who grew up in systemic oppression. And that's not the prettiest picture, but it is what it is. And I am an open book. So Jessica Lopez, Jessica Mysterio on all social media platforms. J Mysterio and Cash App. Other than that, I'm here in Lancaster.
Yo, appreciate you. Yo, we gotta wrap this up, but it's been a loaded talk today about a number of topics, and I really appreciate you jumping on the show. Chaz, I'm gonna leave it up to you if there's anything you want to say or wrap up before we get out of here.
I just want to say that I would love to go more in depth with Jess. You definitely have a story that needs to be heard, and I want to help spotlight that. There's not many, and I'm going to say that this comes. Everything that I'm about to say is going to come from the heart, and I know John Tell's probably going to cut me off because it's probably going to go more than an hour, a little bit. But what I want to say is that this is the reason why I got into this fight, was to make it equal for everybody, and to see a single mother put her own life on the line for others, and nobody's there. And I'm not going to say nobody because I don't know. That's kind of a blank statement. But to see that you're having to go through this with not the supports that you need hurts, because that's not why we throw our, I'm not even going to say throw our life away, but we kind of did. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Not blindedly, but we were selfless instead of being selfish.
Yeah, I know. I definitely get what you're saying. I truly appreciate it. And I do. I have a small, close-knit little support team that I'm grateful for. It's about a handful of people, and they are like, yo, and I'd say they're epic. And I appreciate every single person that supports in their own way. And it's like, when you go into this, you know you're alone in life. Like, you know you're alone in life. And it's like, you pray that your community wraps its arms around you the way that you would wrap your arms around every single person in your community. But it's like, that's not always the case. And it's been lonely, and depression is real. I stay in the gym. Like, please believe it's an uphill battle. And I just appreciate moments where I do get a moment of clarity, like conversations like this, or just get to meet people when I'm walking down the street and somebody be like, yo, you're that girl, like, Yo, we appreciate